Welcome back, Shalloners. That's right. Retro Bay Week is rolling along. Now, usually we talk about couples who are in the news, like right now, breaking, all that stuff. But Retro Bay Week, we're throwing it back. We're doing some TBT on couples who might not be in the news anymore, or you might not even know that they dated back in the day, but there's so much to learn. And it's really fascinating to like break down relationships from kind of a bird's eye view now and see what we can take from it. And today we're going to talk about Madonna and Tupac. I know, right? You might not have even known that these two dated. It kind of like makes sense to me that they would have met and date. I feel like they would have like meshed in kind of a good way. But we're not just going to talk about the relationship. We're going to talk about interracial dating as a whole. And race isn't something we usually talk about here, right? And there's a reason. I think I'm like a white chick from the suburbs. Like, the fuck do I know? And I don't presume to know anything. I can only speak from my own filter of experience. And that's why I don't offer a lot of tips like dating for black women. Like, I don't know. I'm not a black woman and I haven't dated a black woman. So I'm not going to really act like I know the heck I'm talking about. But I have dated a black man. So I've got a little bit of experience in interracial dating. I'll share my, journey with that and what I experienced, and also a bit of what he experienced in that, and how that ties into Madonna and Tupac, because apparently he dumped her because she was white. Ooh, I know. Lot to unpack. We're going to go through some of his old letters, which are like incredible. We'll get there. But first, just want to remind you guys that if you have a love question of your own, feel free to find me on my website, shallonlester.com, and click Get Help. You can also shop some fun merch and take a quiz to see how your social media stacks up and what kind of vibe it's sending. Also, follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO. I let you guys vote on the next video topic and get some cool daily inspiration, some positive quotes, positivity, and listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, out every Wednesday, every place podcasts are found. So, you were probably in diapers or perhaps just a glimmer in your mama's eye when Tupac and Madonna dated. Rosie Perez says she introduced the two in 1993 at the Soul Train Music Awards, and their relationship was brief, but it was intense. I mean, can't you picture it being intense? They both seem like pretty intense people. And Madonna started talking about it in 2015, like she talked about with Howard Stern, and she said, Madge, she's like, dating him influenced the way I behaved. I was trying to act more gangster. And it's interesting that we kind of shapeshift into who we date sometimes. And I think Madonna trying to act gangster with Tupac is like an extreme example of that. But like, you date someone, you tend to start to listen to the music they like. You order the same foods that they like. There's a real enmeshing, and to a degree that's healthy. Like, isn't the point of dating to like meet new people and experience new things, right? To try on different parts of your personality. But I think in some instances, like this Madonna Tupac thing, it can become almost like costumey. If you're dating someone of another race or of just another vibe, if you're really, gothy and you date a preppy dude and suddenly you're decked out in vineyard vines, like, are you just kind of cosplaying as this other person? Are you dating them as a way to step into this life, just sort of as like a field trip in a way? So I can see that maybe being the case with her. But sometimes that's what people think they're going to get out of an interracial relationship, or like different vibe relationship, the emo, the preppy. But they end up actually really liking that field trip. And they take knowledge and they take new horizons of their personality out of it. And in that sense, okay. But it's probably a bad idea just to like be an exoticizer, as they say, where it's like you just want to like date a Japanese guy because it's like weird and cool. Like, I mean, he's a whole person, maybe he's not just one dimension. He's not just like a Harajuku dude. Are there Harajuku boys? I know there's girls. Japanese dude is probably a bad example. They seem pretty normal. So Marissa, my fabulous content coordinator, broke down some bullet points of the Tupac Madonna thing. So I'm going to read them off and then we're going to get a little bit deeper. So in 2017, the relationship made headlines when a prison letter that Tupac wrote was put up for auction. And in the letter, it was to Madonna. He basically copped to, yeah, I dumped you because you're white. Here's why. And he was trying to give her closure. We're going to read that letter in a little bit because it's fantastic. So she had said something that hurt his feelings that he addressed in this letter. She said in an interview, like while they were dating, I'm off to rehabilitate all the rappers and basketball players. Girl, That's not good. I think she'd also dated Dennis Rodman around that time. Oh, Madge. Like, can you imagine if somebody said that now? In a way, the 90s and like pre-social media and stuff was sort of like the golden age of communication because people just said shit, right? And it happened with so few consequences that you really were able to kind of like see the realness of someone or the reality of a situation or how they actually felt or what they actually thought. Like, people didn't have this hyper-tempered, discourse that they were putting out to the world. It wasn't such a crafted narrative. It was a lot more real. And real things aren't always pretty, and real things certainly aren't always slick, So let's talk about what his letter said. Okay, so here's excerpts from the letter. And first of all, before we get into this, can we acknowledge that Tupac is a king only because, if for no other reason, he cared about giving a woman closure. What? Men are chiefly fueled by two things: pussy and the desire not to be the bad guy, right? That's what leads to ghosting. We know what the pussy desire leads to. We know what behaviors that creates. But I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to feel like the bad guy is why dudes ghost, is why they breadcrumb after they ghost you. Like, they'll text you like 3 months later, like, hey, how you been? And you're like, and you agonize over what to write. You're at brunch or it's a crowdsourcing thing. And you finally write back something. You never hear from them again. Why do they do that? Because if you respond, you don't hate them. And so they're like, whew, phew, it doesn't matter that I dumped her and slept with her friend. Doesn't matter that I ghosted her on her birthday, whatever. So that's a huge motivation. In the proper human being, someone who wasn't raised by fucking wolves, the desire to not feel like the bad guy comes in the form of closure, right? It comes in the form of an actual breakup. I was thinking the other day, I can't remember my last friend who got broken up with. They get ghosted. They get like breadcrumbed out. They have to break up with the guy because he's such a bitch. Like, they have to be their own executioner. It is very rare that a man anymore sits down with a woman and is like, we have to break up. Here's why. Here's how I feel. I wish you the best. Let me know if you have questions. So Tupac, to me, this shows that he is such an alpha male. I can't believe that's just so sad that he's dead. That he cared enough to give closure to this woman. So here's some stuff that he said. But he cops to, I dumped you because you're white. So he says, for you to be seen with a black man wouldn't in any way jeopardize your career. If anything, it would make you seem much more open and exciting. But for me, at least in my previous perception, I felt due to my image, I would be letting down half of the people who made me what I thought I was. I never meant to hurt you. He goes on. There's multiple apologies. I must apologize to you because, like you said, I haven't been the kind of friend I know I'm capable of being. I think that sentence is really interesting because I remember, like, when guys would do me wrong, when they ghost or whatever or cheat, I would always think, like, at the very least, I thought we were friends. At the very least, forget everything else. I thought you respected me enough, like, as a friend, and your behavior clearly shows that you don't. My friends would never do this shit to me. So I like that he honed in on that. Truly should be the baseline of any relationship, is like, forget the love, forget the lust. I just like you. I enjoy you and I respect you as a friend. And I have done dirty by that metric. So he also said that he was really PO'd about the I'm off to rehabilitate rappers and basketball players comment. Like, probably. Those words cut me deep, seeing how I had never known you to be with any rappers besides me. It was at this moment, out of hurt and a natural instinct to strike back and defend my heart and ego, that I said a lot of things. Can you feel me? God, he's so articulate. In the meantime, as you can see, I've grown both spiritually and mentally. It no longer matters how I'm perceived. Please understand my previous position as that of a young man with limited experience dating an extremely famous sex symbol. This is interesting because he was 24 when he wrote that. He was 24 when he was this articulate. Michelangelo was 24 when he carved the sculpture of David. Or no, when he painted the Sistine Chapel? Tomato, tomato. My point is, if you're dating a dude who can't text you back and he's too young, he's immature, he's 24. Girl, no, he isn't. I mean, he's no Tupac and he's no Michelangelo. That's rather the point. But it is interesting that like he was 24, Madonna was 36. So they had a lot of different sort of like differentials going against them. The race, the age, their careers were, and you might think like, oh, well, their careers were like very similar. You know, they're both in the industry, whatever, that's going to work for them. No, usually that works against you because people, you have to look at what a celebrity is and what drives a celebrity. We talk about what drives a man. What drives a male celebrity, you know, pussy, not feeling like the bad guy, ego. You know, that need for attention, that need for ego. And God knows Madonna is the classic archetype of this. I mean, she's exactly that. Yeah, it's bedazzled. Yeah, my mom gave it to me for Christmas. J-Lo has a bedazzled Starbucks cup. What? What you gonna say now? That's right. That's what I thought. So they had a lot of things working against them. We're gonna go into interracial relationships later. So this is how he closed the letter, and it literally brings tears to my eyes. It's so sad. I offer my friendship once again, this time stronger and focused. If you are still interested, I would like to further discuss this with you, but some of it couldn't wait. I felt compelled to tell you, just in case anything happened to me. He was shot to death less than a year later. Please be careful, Madonna. Everyone is not as honorable as they seem, and there are those whose hearts bleed with envy and evil. They would not hesitate to harm you. Let my 6 bullets be proof of that. Dick Cheney will live forever, and Tupac is dead. Cool. Great. Makes a lot of sense. It's like you get why people cling to religion just to make some sense out of this shit, right? That's a whole other video. So let's talk about interracial relationships. And like I said, this isn't something we talk a lot about on here. And for me, my experience is limited, but I will just share it with you anyways. Like a few years ago, I met my ex-boyfriend. We met on Tinder. And I was like attracted to his photo because his photo was him like taping up his hockey stick. And I had like hockey in my bio. And so he messaged me. I don't reach out. But that's like why I swiped on him. And he's black. He's 3/4 black. His mom is half and his dad is black. And so he's like sort of a little bit light skinned, but he's got blue eyes. He looks like a puppy. He's the cutest boy in the world. We're still friends. Anyway. He was on a live stream one time. You guys were like, get him out of the way. We want to hear from Shallon. But he was the first black person I dated. He's the first black man I've kissed. And so I had a lot of like unanticipated trepidation going into this because, you know, when we were swiping on each other and talking and FaceTime, I was like, I just connect with this person so much, like on so many levels. And he was a lot younger too. He was 21 at the time. He was still in college. And so it was a lot of Madonna Tupac vibes. Like he was a lot younger. I was older and white. And ironically, like he's obsessed with Tupac, like obsessed with him. And so we like ended up talking a lot about Tupac because I love him too. West Coast for sure. But when we were connecting just us two, whether we were having just visits where we were just like holed up in a hotel room all weekend or like FaceTiming and talking, like the racial thing I didn't think about it. I truly didn't think about it. You know, like there were obviously, you know, it's like you compare your exes to all your other exes, but it wasn't in like a racial way. But then when we started going out, that's when things took turns. That's when it was like, oh yeah, we're in an interracial relationship. And I will tell you this, and look, this is just my experience. I never heard anything from white men. I never heard anything from black men. I heard a ton of shit from black women and from white women, but honestly, mostly black women. Like when we would go out together, I would get a lot of dirty looks. I would have like women would yell things at me. Like we were in Shake Shack one time and Joe and I were like waiting to get our burgers or whatever. And this black woman was like, has anyone seen Get Out? Because I feel like somebody here, one boy here needs to watch Get Out. And like we were both so hungover, we're like, do we need to do, I really just want my shake, please. You can have it. Just take him if I can just get my cheeseburger, okay? But And I heard a lot of feedback from white women. They weren't shouting things on the street. They were probably giving me dirty looks, but I heard things from people, you know, like, oh, you're not really serious about him. Like, you're not like serious about him. It's just like a fling. And I was like, no, we're deeply in love with each other. And we're like together. This isn't the field trip. You know, I'm not exoticizing and we're just like, ooh, doing something weird and different. And they're like, no, but I mean, you're not like serious about him. I'm like, yes, I am. And it was hard for people to get their head around. And then, of course, me being me, that just made me dig my heels more. I was like, we're so in love, we're gonna have a baby in a year. And like, he still wants to have a baby though. I mean, knock my microphone over. I mean, look, the babies, they would come out so cute, and I cannot have an uncute baby. You know how like some babies have like a rash over their whole head and they're just like a snot machine? I'd send it back. I put it on Craigslist. I couldn't do it. I can't do it. So I feel like my chances of having a really cute baby are like pretty high. But maybe that means I'm not quite ready for parenthood. Maybe. So we got a lot of feedback, and that was the thing I noticed. People felt entitled to give their opinion. Well, here's who you should be dating, young black man. Here's why you shouldn't be dating young black man, older white woman. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Who asked you people? Who asked you? Everyone was looking for a loophole in our feelings for each other. And there wasn't one. We just liked each other. And we talked a lot about race because I was fascinated to hear like his experience, like as a black man in America. And it was interesting because I think when we're thinking of race and other people's experiences, it's like we think the black woman we're talking to has had the same collective experience as every other black woman. And in a lot of ways, absolutely, that's true. You know, the sideways looks and just the systematic racism, of course. But everyone actually is in their own lane, and everyone actually is experiencing their experience, you know, kind of in their own little vacuum. The way I can tell you about my experience as a white person, but I can't speak for like a Kentucky coal miner. I can like understand some things for sure because there's commonalities, but it's like, fuck, a lot of it I probably have much more similarities to a black teen in the Bronx, you know, in terms of experience. So he had a very interesting trajectory. Like he grew up like, because his mother is mixed, part of her family is white. So he's got like a white grandmother, white cousins, like, and they're very good family. They're business owners, like incredible businesswoman, his mother. It's wild. I like love her and fear her, you know, she's great. And so he experienced kind of like white family and black family at the same time. And he played hockey, which is a typically pretty white sport. You know, not a lot of people of color play hockey. And because of that, he said he didn't always feel black. He just felt like himself. Like there wasn't necessarily a racial assignment to him. And he played pro hockey in Europe for a while. And he's like, I never felt like that racial tension until I got back to America in New York and started going to college. And like I remember he told me like I had just come up that day to visit, and he'd gotten pulled over like earlier that day, and he's like, this cop was talking to me like I was a thug, and I was like, I'm a college kid, I'm an athlete, like, and he's like, he was talking to me like that because I'm black, wasn't he? And I was like, yeah, like probably. And he had not experienced that, and it was wrenching for me to watch. It like still brings tears to my eyes. Like horrible, you know, he's like such a good person. What is wrong with me? But it's just, it's like, really, that's how people are going to get treated. And like, I understand that, you know, I understand how society treats women. They talk down to us. They think we're stupid, or they think we're slutty. You know, it's like one of the two. And so for him to be experiencing that in real time was like it was really brutal. But it was an awakening I think he needed to have in terms of, you know, not everyone's had the experience you've had. And it's been really cool to see him develop over the last few years. He's gotten so much more political. He wants to go into politics, and like he's waking up to the experience that a lot of other people are having and how sickening it is. And it's cool in a way that it hasn't been like ingrained in him that like, oh yeah, people are racist and they're always going to treat me different. Like, it's almost a good thing that he kind of hit that wall and is like, what? This is real? You know? And it's an education, you know? So I think our relationship worked as well as it did for as long as it did, and why we're still friends, because we approach each other with a spirit of curiosity. That's always been the vibe. I would never try to like lecture him about this and that. He wasn't lecturing me about the Black experience. I would lecture him about the female experience. I lecture him about the woman experience, because he's got to know. He's got to know. Yeah, I'm going to lecture every guy. But in terms of like the racial thing, like, we would just be very open and honest with each other. And it wasn't, we met each other in a spirit of collaboration instead of, I know your experience and this is what you need to know mine. It was not judgment, it was curiosity and collaboration. And that's hard when you're getting all this feedback from the outside world, right? It's hard not to overcorrect in one way or the other, either to overcorrect and dig your heels in and be like, we are staying together forever. I mean, maybe that's not the right answer. Maybe you guys just suck as a couple and race isn't even an issue, you know? Maybe you're just not good for each other. Or the other side, where it's like, well, I'm gonna tell you what it's like to be on my side. Like, I don't think that's helpful, because what we need to do in this world to bridge the racial gap is to start talking more, to find commonality, right? So when you see people on the internet who are just, they're race baiting and they're out for a fight, Black or white, I mean, you know, all races. It's like, you are hurting the cause. And don't come here from the point of view of like acting like you're trying to get people on board with equality. You're not. You're trying to pick a fight and you're trying to win a fight. Okay? And it's the oldest fucking story in the book. You can dress it up in whatever like racial suit you want. It's the oldest story in the book. Do not come to me looking to pick a fight. You knock on the devil's door, somebody is going to answer you. I'm here to have conversations, dialogues, discourse, to share our experience, because once we realize the things we have in common, then that hate, those prejudices, the stereotypes, they melt away. You might be like, okay, she talks different, she looks different, her socioeconomic status is different, but I understand where she's coming from. I understand the issues she's had with her boyfriend. I have the same issues with mine, just in a sort of different context, you know? I understand that she's oppressed by her boss. I'm oppressed by my boss too. So let's find those common points. Let's not make it about like, well, us versus them. Haven't we had enough of that shit? Haven't we had enough of that? So to make an interracial relationship work, you're gonna have to act as an ally. And they are gonna have to act as an ally to you as well. You don't wanna be in a relationship where you're just lecturing. I don't care if it's about race or if it's about table manners. I don't want to teach. I'm not a fucking professor. I teach you guys all day on the internet. I don't want to do it in my personal life. And if you feel like that's who you're in a relationship with, if you're dating someone of a different race and you feel like they're just kind of like lecturing you all the time, pause. Say, let's talk about collaboration. Let's start with all the things we have both experienced, right? Like me and my ex, like we both experienced really strong ass single moms. Let's start there. You know, that's one of the things we connected about, is like, we're both mutually terrified of our mothers, you know, and we like want them to be best friends. So that built a really good foundation. We had a very common experience in terms of a strong single mom does not take a lot of shit. And so therefore, because we had that foundation, the differences that came after that were more manageable in a way. It's interesting because you guys ask me a lot, do opposites attract? No. Like psychologically, statistically, no, they don't. Commonality creates bonding, creates longevity in a relationship, right? And when you say opposites, you want something like, she likes to dance and I've got 2 left feet. Not even, dude. I don't want to date a man who can't dance. It's a real pain in the ass. But like little things, like I've never had sushi and she's really into it, so she's gonna like expand my horizons, right? You don't want it to be like they fundamentally don't communicate and aren't thoughtful and I am. That's not cute. So interracial dating is, I wonder if it's somewhere in the middle, you know? I wonder how much it matters, and I think the degree to which it matters depends on the other people in your life and the feedback that you're getting, it is very, very hard to go against what your parents want. It is very fucking hard. We are hardwired to please those people. It is a survival mechanism. It is our most innate survival mechanism. So if mom and dad are like, I'm sorry, did you say you're not dating a Jew? And a lot of times people default to what's expected of them, you know? And it's been frustrating for a lot of you guys. I know you're like, oh, I'm dating a Muslim guy. I'm not Muslim. He claims he's serious about me. Cut to 3 months later, he dumped me and he married a Muslim girl. And it's like, you know, that's what's expected of him, maybe. And that's difficult. That's really difficult to like break out of, you know? And it's not because you're deficient. He probably did love you, but you know, expectations really weigh heavily on some people. So if you're in an interracial relationship and you know, or an interreligious relationship or whatever, even inter-vibes, if you're like this spicy, sexy, if you're like a dominatrix and you're dating this lacrosse player from Greenwich, Connecticut, I got news for you, girl. He's gonna marry Meredith. He might not have met her, but if he meets her and her name is Meredith, he's marrying her, okay? Look at the writing on the wall and be like, I don't know about the longevity of this, so maybe I'm not going to try to fundamentally change this person's family. But you know what? Maybe that's the whole reason he's dating you. But, you know, there is something to be said for like, you don't want a guy to date you out of rebellion. And we shouldn't date people out of rebellion. And when I dated my ex, like people thought that was it. Like I had gotten divorced not very long before that. And they're like, oh, is that why you're like being crazy with who you date? And I was like, excuse the fuck out of you. No, I'm dating a person I connected with. And if you look at all of my exes, they are fat, short, tall, hot, rich, poor, famous, non-famous, Korean, white, now black. Like I date on chemistry. And I don't feel obligated to like import new races to like keep the brand diverse. Like I could meet a kid in a wheelchair tomorrow. It's like, if we connect, we connect. Great. You know, that's what it's about. So try to keep that open mind and not overcorrect too much in terms of like, my parents don't want me to do this, so I am 100% going to. Or like, well, my parents expect me to marry a Catholic, so I'm going to like slum it, you know, like have all these flings with like a Dominican girl or whatever, you know, whatever. It's like you're playing with people's fucking hearts. And if you connect in a true way, that really is what matters. Try to shut out the world as much as you can. Don't let their opinion seep in. Let the opinion of the person you're dating with. And if you know in your heart of hearts, we're probably not going to get married, you know, like this relationship probably has some kind of shelf life, gain as much awareness as you can from this person in this situation. Walk a mile in their shoes as much as you can, because you will take that broadened perspective into your next relationship, into the rest of the world, into the motherfucking ballot box on election day, and it's gonna make you a better person. And shouldn't dating always make us better? More often than not, no. It erodes us. It breaks us. It chips away at who we are. So instead, try to date people who are going to make you better, whatever form they happen to come in. I want to know your thoughts on this, what your interracial dating experience has been. I also want to know your thoughts on Madonna and Tupac. I think they were probably an interesting couple, and I feel like maybe had they met in like different times in their life or not been famous or something, they could have had a real shot. Although she's a bit much. She is, like, we thought for a while there she was kind of mellowing out. You know, she dated or married Guy Ritchie and she was like cosplaying at that English accent. And you're like, okay, but at least she doesn't have her tits out all the time. We're right back where we started. She's got a great body. She's got incredible boobs, so get them out. That's off topic. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think. And like I said, follow me on social media at ShallonXO. And if you have a love question or any other kind of question, go to my website, shallonlester.com, and click Get Help.